Hey folks, so I'm Dr. G. This is the walkthrough for the interface for our Intro to Technical Writing course. This is going to talk about three different things: Canvas and how to navigate our Canvas site, how to navigate Google Docs, which is really going to be the landing page for our course, and then also how to navigate Slack. All of this information is included in a condensed format in the in like a handout on the schedule too. So there's a written sort of transcript version of this as well. All right, so we'll start with Canvas. So this is the student view of Canvas. This is what you're going to see. You're going to notice that it is like a relatively clean course in terms of there's not a ton of links. That's on purpose. So the first thing you're going to see on the home page is my welcome letter to you. I'm also going to send that to you as an email, but it's basically going to explain when and how we're meeting. You have two options in the class, to take it in person or to take the course remotely, and no questions asked. You can do either one. It's totally fine. I am personally offering this to you, and it's not going to make a material difference either way in terms of what you're going to do. It's the same class. So anyway, go ahead, read this welcome letter. That's why it's on the home page, so you read it. And then the next thing you're going to see is a link to our syllabus. By the way, all of these documents are Google documents, and we'll get into that in a bit, but there's a reason for that. Everything's hyperlinked. So this is our syllabus for you to access. Then the last thing you're going to see, aside from people and conversations, and that's just our course evaluations, these things you don't even need to deal with, right? But the last thing that we're going to look at is pages. Now you're going to notice when you click on pages, because because Canvas is weird, is that like you're just going to get the welcome message again, and you're going to be like, what the heck? Go to view all pages. Okay, so here we have not only the welcome message, but also the Unit 1 schedule. You click on that, and here is our schedule. Now here's the thing that I want to tell you before we transition to talking about Google Documents, is that most course schedules, it's like, oh, this is what we're doing, and here's what's for homework, and it's like really tiny and skeletal, right? That's not what this is, right? I've created, so one, Intro to Technical Writing is a flipped classroom. So instead of you just sitting there listening to me lecture at you, which is never a good way to learn technical writing, we're going to be doing, I've curated and created these hands-on exercises for you to practice technical writing throughout the course, right? And because of that, the course schedule is like extremely detailed and like walks you through things. All right. So those are all the things on Canvas that you're going to see. One of the things that I want to recommend is that when you get to our course schedule, just go ahead and just like click on it and open it into Google Drive. And the reason why I say that is because you can then star Google Drive right here, or star our Unit 1 schedule. And once you do that, you're never going to need to hop back into Canvas again, because this is actually the course schedule is actually the landing page for our course. So the first thing that I'm going to do is tell you how our course schedule is organized, so that you know how best to use it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about your different workflow options, and then we'll talk about Slack. Okay, so here's how it's organized. The first thing to notice is that one, it's broken up into units, and at the top of every unit, you are going to see this same legend right here. And throughout the semester, you're going to notice that like all of these things are going to have hyperlinks. The reason why that's important is because eventually you will be able to click on weeks 4 through 6 schedule and be like, boom, I'm there, and you don't even need to go back through Canvas. So as long as you have access to the first unit's course schedule, you will have access to everything. All right. And it not only includes like the schedules, but also like, okay, the syllabus, any kind of readings. There's a reading folder. If I've introduced an assignment, every important document that I've embedded in throughout the schedule itself when you need it is also at the top, so that you don't have to search through things. The next thing you're going to see down the left-hand side of your screen, if you have the view document outline thing open, is a document outline. This is actually super important so that you don't have to scroll. So if you're like, oh, like what are we doing today? What are we doing Thursday, January 27th? You can just click on the hyperlink, or what are we doing for homework on February 3rd? and it will walk you through those things. And you'll also notice at the end of the semester, or the end of this unit, I'm gonna link to the next part of the schedule. I just haven't created it yet because, as you can imagine, this takes a bit of time. But the document outline ends up being super important, right? Because it's helpful to navigate. If you don't see this on your screen, just go to View and make sure that document outline has a check mark next to it, okay? So now we know how to navigate just the sort of broad navigation features, the legend and the document outline. The other thing to sort of know about the schedule is that it's broken up right into weeks. The first thing you're going to do every day in class, and this is me getting into workflow a little bit, but whether you are sitting in the class in person or whether you are taking the class remotely, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to watch a video of me just giving you an overview of what we're going to do today in class, all right? And then whether you're in person or whether you're taking this remotely, like, you're going to follow these like tasks that I've created. Remember that I'm curating these experiences for you to basically have a hands-on engagement with technical writing skill sets that will be portable for other classes. So it's going to end up being a lot more useful for you, and you're probably going to get way more work done in class, which is another perk, right? So anyway, you're going to notice throughout the schedule, if we just talk about the organization, that anything that I want you to engage with, like if I'm like, hey, read this handout, that handout is linked. Watch this video, that video is linked, right? Or even like, I'm like, hey, accept my Slack and my invite to our course Slack page. Everything is there. And even like later on when I'm like, okay, introduce yourself on the intros channel on Slack, I will link to the intros channel on Slack so that you know exactly where to go and you don't have to search for anything. You're also going to notice, as you can tell here, that our homework is always going to be in a text box and flagged in green, right? And it's also going to tell you like when stuff is due. So I've really tried to take a lot of care to create a course schedule that is simple and easy to navigate, because this syllabus itself and this course schedule is a piece of technical writing, right? So yeah, so just sort of know that that's something to keep in mind, as that's how you sort of navigate the schedule. Now, if we're going to talk about the course workflow, it's really simple. I talked about this in the letter, so I'm not going to like go over it a lot, but the key thing that I want you to know is that whether you're taking the course in person or remotely, it's the same deal. We're going to start by this video of me saying, this is what we're doing today. Even if you're in person, you're going to see me playing this video. And the reason is because, again, it's really hard to understand someone when they've got a mask on, which is why I'm giving these explanations here. Because even if you're in person, like, you might have auditory processing issues like I do. I need to lip read, and it's important to be able to understand each other. Accessibility, right? So the idea is that no matter where you are, you can just kind of go through these tasks. If you are in person, you really kind of have two options. Like, once I do the overview, if you're like, hey, like, I know what I want to do today. I'm on campus, but like, I'm not feeling the classroom right now. I'm just going to ease on down the road and go somewhere else where it is more accessible to me. Like, I'm more comfortable. You can do that. That's totally fine, right? Or you can hang out in the class with me, and just if you've got a question, just ask. And then for folks, and if you've got a question and ask, obviously, and you're there, you can ask me. But if you're taking the course remotely, or if you're one of those people who maybe came in for like the in-person overview, right? And then you're like, I'm going to jet, I know what to do. I'm going to hang out like somewhere else, like in the cafeteria and do this, or in the computer lab and do this. Cool. If you've got questions, certainly, I guess you could walk back to the classroom, but another thing that you can do is you can just interact with me on Slack. And Slack is going to be really amazing because in a lot of ways, having that Slack component to the course is something that really ends up giving you a lot more one-on-one individual attention that like wouldn't be there in just a traditional like in-person I'm talking to you, because it's not as easy to be like, oh, got a question right now, and then getting that direct response from me immediately. So Slack is kind of cool in that way, right? So the idea is we learn what we're doing, we go through the tasks. If you've got questions, you can ask them to me either verbally if you're in the classroom or on Slack, and I am always there. If you're in a document, I'm in the document. If you're doing an activity, I am doing an activity. If you're participating in a discussion, I am doing the same. The other thing that feels important to mention is that because of the lack of accessibility in terms of being able to understand each other with face masks on, and also the inability to follow safety protocols. I can't put you in tiny groups for like small group discussions. So we are going to be having all of our discussions on Slack, whether we're in person or not. Like whether you're taking the class in person or remotely, we are still engaging with the same platform, which is why I say, in a way, there's no material difference. You're going to have the same engagement with the course material, right? Depending on the workflow that you pick. And the thing is that you can some days decide I want to like show up to class in person. And then other days you can be like, no, I'm just going to do this remotely. That is totally up to you. And I trust you to choose what is most accessible for you right now. Okay. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about Slack. I give an overview of our sort of like, I give an overview of stuff I give an overview of what the interface looks like in this sort of handout up here, just so you know that's all recapped right there. But here's Slack. Okay, so this is our intro to technical writing page. And basically, if you're someone who has ever used Discord, this is kind of like a Discord for adults. But the key thing to know about Slack is that it's free, that a lot of professions, including technical writing especially, professions use Slack. You can download Slack on your phone. I would recommend that. You can download it on your computer. There's a desktop app, but you can also access it on a web browser, right? So down the left-hand side, you're going to see some channels. The common channels to just sort of know that we're going to use a lot is the Ask GPAT channel. That's where if you wanted to like raise your hand and be like, hey, GPAT, I got a question. That's where you would type in that question and I'll answer it in there. I also include, just because I think it's fun, a place if you want to share pictures of your pets. I will 100% be sharing pictures of my ridiculous pit bulls because someone needs to see these dogs. But please share pictures of pets here just for funsies. The FYI channel, and again, I recap this in the document, this is where instead of me spamming your email inbox, if I have like something that I want to send to y'all, I will type that message into the FYI channel. It's just way easier, right? More streamlined. Intros, that's where you're going to be introducing yourselves on the first day of class. I think you're doing that for homework. And then social space. This is just a space for you to just socialize and vent with each other. Obviously, try to keep it clean, right? Like, don't do offensive shit on there. But the idea is that, like, it's just nice to have that. And you can use this, like, during class time. So I'm not going to be like, oh, you're talking during class. I don't give a shit. Like, the idea here is that, like, I need to be able to trust you, right? That you're doing your things. You're adults. So, but I also just think it's nice to have that because work doesn't happen without socializing. So, yeah. The rest of the channels right here are things that I'm going to link to in the schedule. So if I'm like, hey, post something to Unit 1 Doodle, right? You'll just click on the link in the schedule and it'll take you to this channel. So you don't have to worry about navigating these, but they are purposely organized by units. You can kind of see that, right? There are going to be some hidden things that you aren't going to see, like with locks right here. Those are like basically small group things that I'm doing on Slack. And so those are hidden from you just because they're like private groups depending on what group you're in, right? So there's that. At the bottom of Slack, you're going to end up seeing pictures of people's profiles. So anyone who's on Slack will have a green dot next to their name. But then, the other reason why I'm mentioning this is because if you've got a question in class and you're, I don't know, feeling shy and you don't want to use the Ask GPAT channel, you can also just direct message me and just type your question in there. And then you've got like a whole record of like our interactions, like all the things you've asked, all the ways that I've answered it. Also, when I give you your progress reports, like in terms of like your grade tally throughout the semester, I'm going to share it in here too. So it's just really nice and way less of a soul death than Canvas or Blackboard, which don't give you a portable skill set the way that Slack does, because Slack is actually used in industry. And this is a tech writing class, and my goodness, I need to teach you collaborative tools, right? So that is the overview, friends, for our interface. And if you need to recap anything, just go ahead and check out this document right here. And that just kind of gives you a detailed overview of what I just said. All right, I'll see you in class.